Surrender, surrender, surrender. What does it really mean to surrender? I've been posting on Facebook the last few days little questions about surrender, what it means to people, what practice they've used that really helped them surrender. And it is surrender happens, of course, at the level that we are at. You can't surrender your whole life overnight without having a really solid foundation to rest in when you let everything go. So we always have to honor where we are at and not try to force our way to something that we are not yet. It's kind of really surrendering to who we are, where we are, the moment, and the place inside of us that is ready to surrender. I'm aware that when I had my Big Bang awakening back in, when was that? Late 80s, I think, when I started reading Joe Goldsmith's book called Practicing the Present, and everything opened up. It felt like it was some kind of an initiation of something that I entered into without really knowing it. And after my first 2 or 3 months of absolute bliss and love and expansion, I went to the deepest place of hell, I would say, for a number of months before I got out of that. And then I was more focused again on, staying on what had started some months before that. And surrender has not happened overnight for me either. It's been a process. It's been a process of learning to be present with what is here in the moment and learning to uncover, what I'm still attached to, where I still put my faith in this world made up of the mind and the 5 senses. It's not made up of my true nature, which is a whole different experience. And once you start waking up to who you truly are, you will definitely know what I'm talking about. It's like 2 different worlds. And it reminds me of a title of a book also by Joel that says it's called Living Between 2 Worlds, right? And I think a lot of us, we've lived in the 3D world and we've seen glimpses of, heaven on earth, the true world, the true earth. And we're kind of hovering in between. And we're not really here there yet. Well, we're not here anymore, but we haven't landed over here. So we're kind of trying to figure it all out. And in that process, of course, we can't just ignore what we're still fully identified with. And we can't help but use a lot of the 3D things that everybody is dependent on. I mean, it's everything in our life, until we have a deeper ground, a deeper foundation or trust, a deeper resting in that which we truly are. So moving from this here, the solid 3D world, to over here, which is our true identity that is not identified with this over here anymore. How do we get over here? How do we make that leap so we're not hovering in between 2 worlds? And I would say, like I have said so many times, I think the most important thing is to know that you want this more than anything. Until we know that we want this more than anything, We are still wanting things in this world that we're living in. And again, there's nothing wrong with that. I always want to emphasize there's nothing wrong with anything. It's just if you want something else, you need to know what you want. And then you need to put all your eggs in that basket, pretty much. So as long as we're still attached to things over here, we are going to hold on to them, and we cannot make it over here. It's impossible. We may get glimpses of it, but when you don't fully trust this here yet, you will hold on to this over here, and we all do it. So when I want to talk about the challenges that we encounter on this journey of surrender, of full surrender, it's very challenging for, I think, for all of us. I think it's very challenging to start letting go of what you don't want anymore, and yet it feels like your whole safety and your whole identity are still 100% wrapped up in there. So you don't have much energy or presence to find out who you truly are. But when you do commit to that, whether it's willingly or not, like mine just happened. I was sitting in this meditation and it just bang, everything opened up. And I was hooked. I have not been able to get away from that. And I'm grateful, not all the time. I may have moments of, what would it be like to just be totally identified in the 3D world? And there's nothing in me that wants that. But I'm also floating here, and then I definitely land here more and more. But there are still these attachments to this world. And what I have experienced happens then is these things, if I can't let them go on my own, and if I am committed to this over here, something is going to help me to let go of this. And it's usually not just like, oh, honey, let me help you let go. Yeah, that's fine. It's easy. No worries. No, sometimes that has happened where you get some clarity, right? But a lot of the time, it's like, it's just whatever we're holding on to is just being ripped out of your hands, like bang, and you can probably relate to that in your own life. A lot of loss can happen, and a lot of loss probably will happen. The loss is our attachment to it. So when something gets ripped out of your hands, you're like, you try and find it again, right? Or recreate it, and you start using your mind with maybe positive thinking and creating from the mind, which is, I think, a very, very normal and natural progression of things being taken away. And then there might be a time where you can recreate it, you can manifest it, but it's still happening in the mind as a separate identity. And I think that's really the hardest thing to let go of, is that the whole identity, where I, for instance, think I am Pernilla and I am dependent on this money or this job or this person or this practice, that is that separate sense of self that is believing she's separate from the divine, which is invisible. It's separate. It's not connected to our five senses. That's why letting go of the five senses is huge, because we don't really know what else is there. It's like, oh, if I lose this job or this money or this person or this relationship, what am I going to do then? And then we grab onto it again. We all go through that process. But then little by little, maybe sometimes when more is taken away, and I've gone through a lot of that the last 2 years, a lot of fear comes up in the beginning and you're like, oh my God. But because my practice is so strong and I 100% know what I want, and I've shared that on many of my videos, and that is I am deeply relaxed in the effortless flow and fulfillment of God's loving grace. So the words, right? There's effortless, deeply relaxed, flow, grace. You see, there's no hard work, trying, struggling, striving, efforting. That is not what lives inside of me as my deepest longing. So when I know that, over the years, it's been getting so much easier to go there almost instantly without doing this here. It's like, okay, well, Pernita, do you want to do this here? Do you want to keep doing that? Causing stress and whatever. It's like, no, I want this. And that to me has been and still is for sure my way of surrendering when challenges happen. I go to, is that what you want? What do you really want? And I don't want to effort anymore. I don't want to work so hard. Don't want to try and do it on my own. So I don't. And then I am left in limbo. I am left in that space between the two worlds, the way Joel talks about it. And this is where trust builds. Things don't change overnight. They do at times. They may do many times, and certain things don't. And I have also heard that when you are really, coming close to the end, that's when it gets the hardest. That's really where there is the deepest attachments and identifications. That's where we are being asked or they're being ripped away. And then you don't really have much left than just to surrender. My journey of surrender is getting easier and easier to the point where I'm like, I'm in your hands. I'm completely open and willing. I'm an open vessel to be that divine energy that I am, to be that light and let it shine. I know this light knows how to shine. It does not need my help, except my willingness to allow it without trying to change it or fix it or manipulate it, to have this 3D, third dimension, look different. So it is like this full surrender and trust. And then wait. You just wait, but you stay in that space of being, of silence, of stillness, of relaxation, of trusting, of receptivity. And the more I do that, this becomes like, okay, let's see what happens. Let's see what happens. But the process of moving from here, where we are so identified and so attached, to here, where we are literally fully surrendered to the divine, we don't have any attachment. We don't have any, not trying to change things or control things unless that energy comes through in whatever way, and then it will be effortless or it will be natural and organic. So that process is what we all have to go through if and when we only want the divine, where we only want to be full, open, receptive vessels for the divine, because the divine, the light, the beauty, the love knows exactly how to express itself. It doesn't know how not to do that, of course, because that's what it is. And that is what we are at the core. So we're basically surrendering to our own core quality of divinity, of light, of love. We're not surrendering to some unknown, can I trust this being thing? We're surrendering to our own longing that comes from the soul, that comes from the divine. We're surrendering to that longing, that energy that moves in us and takes us all the way home. And we do not know what that looks like, but we know one thing, that this knows. And that's where we need to put our attention, and then just be open and learning to trust it more and more. And there is a sweetness. There is a sweetness that starts growing in this trusting. In the beginning, it's like, and then as we let go, it's like, okay, well, let's see. And then there is a sweetness in it. There is a sweet, it's a sweet longing. It's a sweet expectation of what this expresses without this cover. If you find yourself on this path of surrender, you probably know what I'm talking about. You will probably relate to a lot of it. It seems like my path is the path of full surrender. It's more or less all I talk about on my YouTube channel here, and how to do it, and where we're stuck and how to get unstuck. And I'm assuming there's a lot more than I. And maybe some of you need help in getting unstuck. That seems to be one of the things that come natural to me, to support other people in that process. And it actually gives me great joy. It feels like that is part of that movement, because it's my own movement. So it's not separate from me. It's not I'm here and then over here I do something totally different. It comes all from the same. And so you're always welcome to reach out. You can find information on my website, and the information is in the description. And feel free to like and comment and share, subscribe, whatever, if this resonates with you. I always love to hear from you, and get some of these conversations, let them come more to life. So I hope I will hear from you. Thank you.